Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. Before we get started, I just wanted to inform everyone that the session will be recorded. So I've just started the recording.
Hi, Ed. Let me know when we start at 11:01.
Sure, just, yeah, I'll just go over some house rules, I guess. Oops. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you now. Yes, great.
Okay. I just wanted to go over some housekeeping.
Okay.
Sorry, my alarm clock went off at 11 o'clock. So I just wanted to remind everyone, please edit your profile to include your name and your library. That would help us to match names and faces and libraries. And we are expecting quite a large crowd today. So as an attendee, don't worry, you're already on mute. If you would like to speak, you can click on the microphone icon that says grab the mic. And you'll be in a queue together with other people who want to connect with the speaker. And then you can click on request to connect, and then we will be able to approve or sort of reject that on our end, accept or reject that on our end. And I'm going to hand the time over to Loida, who's our moderator today.
Thank you, Ed. And welcome, everyone. Welcome to Libraries Changing the World, Educating and Promoting Understanding for Climate Action. This webinar is presented by IFLA Continuing Professional Development and Workplace Learning, CPDWL, and IFLA New Professionals Special Interest Group as part of webinars presented since 2012. My name is Loida Garcia Fibo, and I am the moderator of this event. I would like to thank Edward Lim, who has coordinated the event with me. Also, thanks to the CPDWL co-chairs and the convener of the MPSIG and the leadership team, the information coordinator of CPDWL, and to all in both CPDWL and the new professionals that have worked the promotion for the event. I wholeheartedly agree with IFLA publications asserting that climate action is not only for politicians. Our profession, librarianship, is also part of climate action. This is an area for all of us to work together to bring change and effective results. Connecting people with information and education, promoting media and digital literacy, counteracting deliberate misinformation, preserving, digitizing, and providing access to our cultural resources are all ways for librarians to take also climate action. Librarians, we are the ones we have been waiting for to effect change, to position libraries as key players within global and national bodies to develop partnerships to strengthen libraries to provide essential services to our communities deeply impacted by COVID-19. During the pandemic, its aftershocks, and beyond. As we have seen with floods, hurricanes, earthquakes, and fires affecting libraries and the communities they serve, climate action is one of these areas in which we can effect change. It is inspiring to collaborate with librarians and global bodies like the United Nations with a common goal of taking urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. This is definitely a historical time to bring change to libraries and the communities we serve at academic, public school libraries. On its paper about libraries and sustainability, IFLA has outlined two key roles for libraries in this area. Libraries are examples and educators, building and understanding of the issues amongst citizens and helping them to learn how to change their own behavior. IFLA has also championed the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, for a long time and see that libraries are essential to development. Libraries are also in an ideal place within the community to share information and best practices to promote sustainability. Goal 13 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals is about climate action and taking urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. In relation to the current pandemic crisis and Goal 13, the United Nations has said that as countries move toward rebuilding their economies after COVID-19, recovery plans can shape the 21st century economy in ways that are clean, green, healthy, safe, and more resilient. The current crisis is an opportunity for a profound and systematic shift to a more sustainable economy that works for both people and the planet. The UN Secretary General has proposed 6 climate-positive actions for government to take once they go about building back their economies and societies. And they include green jobs and sustainable and inclusive growth, green economy, making societies and people more resilient through a transition that is fair to all and leaves no one behind. To address the climate emergency, post-pandemic recovery plans need to trigger long-term systemic shifts that will change the trajectory of CO2 levels in the atmosphere. Governments around the world have spent considerable time and effort in recent years to develop plans to chart a safer and more sustainable future for their citizens. Taking these on board now as part of recovery planning can help the world build back better from the current crisis. IFLA and SULIP maintains that the consideration of the role of humanity in climate change and the notion of sustainable development are concerns of society and consequently of libraries. The Sustainability Roundtable of the ALA was created as a venue in which members exchange ideas and opportunities regarding sustainability in order to move towards more equitable, healthy, and economically viable society. Both groups in IFLA and ALA have a goal to support sustainability within the library community through curriculum development, collections, exhibits, events, advocacy, communication, library buildings, and space design. All these actions and collaborations I have mentioned are very inspiring and support Goal 13 of the UN SDGs. I encourage everyone to continue working together to bring the change we need in this area for a more sustainable world that will also help libraries serve communities deeply impacted by COVID-19. Together with IFLA leading the change, we can bring change. Today, we welcome esteemed colleagues, speakers working in the area of sustainability, global and local impact of the Sustainable Development Goals, and sustainability in libraries. We are very glad that they accept our invitation, and we are honored to present Sherry Aldis, Chief United Nations Publications, Outreach Division, Department of Global Communications, and very happy to present our colleagues with whom we have collaborated in different areas. Harry Sarvirta, Chief Librarian, Helsinki City Library in Finland, and Casey Conlin, Library Sustainability Coordinator at the Mid-Hudson Library System in New York, USA. They will speak in this order. Attendees can ask questions on the chat box, and we will take them at the end. Thank you so much to the speakers and to the attendees. Now, I would like to welcome Sherry Aldis from the United Nations.
Thank you very much, Loida. I'm very happy to be with you all today. It was a wonderful introduction. I feel like I don't have anything to add at this point, but I'll try and add to some of the things that you mentioned in your wonderful introduction. I'm going to share my screen if you will bear with me for a second. So I'm very happy to be here with you today to speak about the Sustainable Development Goals, and in particular SDG 13 on climate action. It's a very timely discussion. We celebrated Earth Day just a few days ago, and we also had the much publicized Leaders Climate Summit, which took place on the same day. And we're just a few months away from the very crucial COP26 that will take place in Glasgow this November. Now, libraries, as Loida has said, really are crucial partners in achieving the SDGs through helping fight misinformation, fostering education, and providing a healthy and hopefully even environmentally friendly place for dialogue and discovery on topics related to the SDGs. Libraries can provide the content, the science, and the physical space to allow us to learn and move forward together. And we welcome the commitment to sustainability made by librarians around the world through various things, including the creation of sections and committees that are dedicated to sustainability in both national and international library associations, the participation locally in activities, programs, and communications about the Sustainable Development Goals. Many libraries have also adopted environmentally friendly practices, and you all share resources and reliable information on climate change, gender equality, and all of the other topics related to the SDGs. It really does seem that there is a natural synergy between the SDGs and libraries. There are shared values and priorities, and libraries make a very direct contribution to SDGs, such as number 4 on quality education through promoting literacy, and number 16 on peace, justice, and strong institutions through providing access to information. So I'd like to thank you for this effort that you're making, and I encourage you to work even harder with us and your local communities in order to combat climate change. The theme of today's session is educating and promoting understanding for climate action. And so I'd like to speak a little bit about the UN's work on climate action that I hope will also inspire you to action. As we know, and we hear every day, we are in the midst of a climate emergency. The last decade was the warmest ever recorded, and as we see on the screen, global emissions of CO2 have increased by almost 50% since 1990. This is not a sustainable trend. Climate change has been omnipresent in the news recently, sadly, due to storms and fires, floods, and droughts. But it's also been in the news for more positive reasons, like Earth Day and the Leaders Climate Summit. So let's hope that concrete steps can be taken now and reinforced at COP26 in Glasgow in November. So the UN's work on climate action. The framework for action lies in the SDGs in general, and in particular SDG 13 on climate action. We also have the 2015 Paris Agreement that sets out the commitments 189 countries have made to reduce global greenhouse emissions and limit the temperature increase in this century to a maximum of 2 degrees. And so UN's role really is to coordinate solutions and leverage international cooperation to help countries move towards a low carbon economy. Loida mentioned the work that we are currently doing on climate action. At the moment, we really are focused on the need to work together urgently to ensure that progress is made in the next 10 years. It's what we call the decade of action. And leveraging the COVID-19 pandemic is crucial. Our usual norms and methods have been disrupted. We can use this as an opportunity to build back better and pivot to a green recovery. We need to leverage the crisis in order to effect change. And these are the 6 climate positive actions that Loida referenced that we are prioritizing at the moment to help rebuild after the pandemic. So it includes sustainable jobs and businesses, no bailout for polluting industries unless they commit to becoming Paris aligned, ending fossil fuel subsidies, making sure that carbon has a price so that we can shift to a decarbonized economy, and having polluters pay for their pollution that is harming communities. Taking climate risks and opportunities into account in all of our financial and policy decisions, and then working together in order to leave no one behind and transition to a carbon neutral economy that is fair and inclusive. And one of the most important things that we all need to do at the moment, and librarians are a crucial part of this, is fighting misinformation. And it's a very important way to achieve our goals and share the science that underpins our climate action goals. Sharing scientific research is one of the major ways we contribute to this collective effort. The UN conducts and publishes a wealth of reliable, verified, primary source materials that can be used by researchers, policymakers, and also the general public to make the right choices. The UN's United in Science initiative brings together the latest climate science information from a group of key global partner organizations. And some of the main findings from 2020 are compiled on the screen. Doing the research that leads to these conclusions and then communicating it effectively through simple infographics and key messages is an important part of the UN's work in the fight against misinformation. And librarians really play a key role in sharing reliable, scientific information and providing resources to their communities. So what can you do? Well, you can use and you can share the UN resources that are available to everyone to help us fight misinformation and share the science. Reliable primary source resources are available on our online platform, the UN iLibrary, that you can see on the left-hand side of the screen. It's a very user-friendly way to find UN content easily, and you can now even filter your search or browse by SDG. We publish many important reports on the topic of the SDGs, such as the Sustainable Development Goals report, and also on climate change, such as UNEP's annual emissions gap report or the recent Making Peace with Nature. This year's very popular Human Development Report was devoted to the existential impact that humans are making on the planet. It's called The Next Frontier, Human Development and the Anthropocene. Now, another way that you can all contribute to fighting misinformation is by participating in the UN's Verified campaign. We launched it quite close to the beginning of the pandemic in May 2020 in order to create a worldwide network of information volunteers, and this can be anybody, to share content that can be trusted. It has been absolutely crucial during the pandemic when life-threatening misinformation spread wildly. So what we do is we create content that has life-saving information, fact-based advice, and stories from the best of humanity that is verified and timely. It's really about looking out for each other to keep everyone safe and informed. Anyone can sign up to participate in the campaign. It has a very recognizable yellow color and a logo with 2 ticks. Another concrete action you can take is to join Act Now. This is the UN's campaign for individual action on climate change and sustainability. The URL is on the screen, and you can also download an app to track your daily actions. There's a monthly newsletter that you can sign up to receive as well. This is all about changing our habits and making choices every day, very simple choices that have less harmful effects on the environment. And millions of people around the world have already joined this campaign, and it's a simple way for everybody to contribute. You can also participate in the Sdg Book Club. This is a program that we developed with IFLA in 2019 to help children aged 6 to 12 learn about the SDGs in all 6 official UN languages. The club has grown since its start, and we now have chapters in Africa, in English, French, and Kiswahili, in Brazil, in Indonesia, and Norway, and we hope that Italy and Germany are next. And every month or so, we publish a list of recommended reading for one of the SDGs in all 6 official UN languages. And we just announced the book list for SDG 13 on climate action, coincidentally, that you may want to check out, especially if you have children in your life. The URL is on the screen. You can participate actively as well by sharing book recommendations through IFLA or by using the hashtag Sdg Book Club on social media and tagging at UN publications. You can also share the book club reading lists and organize SDG-themed story times or other events with children. Many libraries work with the UN actively via programs such as this, and this one is definitely one of our favorite initiatives on the SDGs at the UN. So thank you all for your attention, and thank you in particular for your commitment. I very much look forward to hearing what my co-panelists are working on in their local communities and to seeing what else we can do together in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. We are thrilled that you are with us today. and hearing how the United Nations is supporting libraries working towards the same goal, right? The Sustainable Development Goals and also climate action. I'm very happy to say that at the American Library Association, we have a UN task force, and we are promoting the book clubs. And they are popular. There are libraries in Illinois, and there are libraries also in Serbia, in the country, Serbia, that are following the book club. It's a great idea and great resources. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Loida.
And now we are going to continue with our next speaker, and he is Harri Saaverta from Finland and from IFLA, Sustainability. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. And good evening from Helsinki. I may mention here first that we too have in Finland a climate book club, which is a national and has been quite successful beginning last year. But now let me share my screen. Right. Yes. I am Harri Saaverta. I'm a chief librarian in Helsinki City Library. I've been doing environmental work in Helsinki for about 10 years, but also in environment, sustainability and libraries, IFLA special interest group, which has become a section this year. So we are about to have our first official standing committee. And I've been also coordinating IFLA Green Library Award from 2016 on. And now, unfortunately, the reviews for this year's winner are still going on. I wish that I could have told you something about them, but the process is going on, so we may say something about the last year winners. So I've been doing environmental work for 10 years, and I think that there has been a shift in focus during that time. Now, sustainability is usually taken to be economical, environmental, and social, although some add here also human, so it's profits, planet, and people. But then we're talking about libraries. The keywords are a little bit different. Green or sustainable library is about the building and the economy, of course, social responsibility and environment. However, it seems that we are talking more and more about the building responsibility, information services, and the new economy. The building cannot be dropped out because most of the emissions come from the building. Libraries are quite environmentally friendly in their action, but the building is the main reason for emissions. We actually been measuring the carbon footprint for 13 libraries in Finland during a national project, and one of the results was that building is the one which increases the carbon footprint. Yes, and here we have some keywords for library as a green building. The main idea is, of course, in this respect, that we should decrease consumption and recycle. The results are easy to verify. That is one reason why the building has been so up, because it's easy to show that we have done something and that we have results. And there is the clear economic aspect, because it means saved money if we decrease consumption. And there is one disadvantage too for us librarians, because this means that librarians actually are not needed. It is architects, engineers, and housekeepers who are in charge of the building. So that's why I've been trying to tell 10 years that it cannot be only the building. We have to think broader. And more libraries are thinking that the social responsibility is the most important factor, or at least as important as the building. And here we have some of the keywords for social responsibility. And as you can see, we are approaching the Sustainable Development Goals. It is a background assumption that environmental awareness requires information and information skills. You have to be able to read. You have to have access to reliable and updated information. You need some education. And it is also a fact that if you don't have any standards of living, you probably are not interested in doing environmental work. So again, all the social goals are very important. And well, of course, the counterpart is that where we have higher standards of living, we consume more and make more waste too. And then we have the Green Library services. We have been circulating the collections forever. However, we could do that in a green way. We could think about what we do with the deleted items, and we might think about how we have easy access to information and so on. And this is actually what is in the core of librarianship. This is what belongs to our work. We are expertises on information services. So we maybe should think that we do environmental work, libraries run libraries with plastic book covers, or do we hide the environmental information with our UV classification system, or do we create green corners and offer shared bases and devices to our communities? And right. And the real shift, I think, has happened after the Sustainable Development Goals, and also some changes in international politics, because nowadays most of the nations and cities have environmental strategies. And that comes down to cities and libraries. And there are quite many projects on carbon footprint and even on handprint. Roadmaps for sustainable cities and libraries are made. We're talking about sharing economy and circular economy things. But somehow the most important thing has been that Sustainable Development Goals have compelled us to think out of the box. We don't think anymore the environmental work in libraries, that what we do in libraries, but in a broader sense, what we do in society. So we have to think, what is quality education? Well, that is quite natural for libraries. But what about sustainable cities and communities? That includes already sharing economy. It means shared space and devices and so on. A lot of new things are coming on. And now, if I think I have a couple of minutes, let me try to change. And now I share again. And now I hope you can see the last year winners IFLA Green Library Award. You can see these from IFLA's and Ensuluk's page, so I go them very quickly. I'm actually going over time. But here's the first Rangsit University Library in Thailand, which gives environmental education to a large and diverse audiences. The social responsibility is very important on this project. But there is also environmental management, and environmental work is penetrating all the actions. And next we have, yes, China is here. Hancho Public Library in China, where the green building, the focus is on the green building and waste management, but also interior design and environmental work with children and volunteers. It's quite amazing how much children and volunteers they have. They have committed to the environmental work of the library. And then a quite different kind of approach is Larvae Learning Center in Senegal, which is a community-oriented learning center, which has a focus on women's education and social responsibility. And finally, there is National Environmental Information Center in Sri Lanka, which has focus on scientific knowledge, educating the public, but it's also, actually the problem is that it is not only that we should have reliable and updated information, which may be a challenge today, but also that the amount of information is increasing so rapidly, and all this make it more and more difficult to find the relevant, reliable and updated information. So I really think that we do need information. We really do need librarians to get a hold of all the information which we have all around the web and libraries and so on. But here, please to visit our web pages. I stop here and I thank you for listening. I hope you have got some kind of idea what is going on in Ensulit.
Thank you so much, Harry Sarvirta from Finland. There are so many good news about the work done by libraries. And also, I appreciate that you share what is happening in Helsinki and in Finland, because it transpires that a library necessarily doesn't need to have big funding to be green and participate in sustainable initiatives. And a library could be even a solo, directly managed by a solo librarian, or could have a big staff. It varies, but the important part is that everyone can participate in the taking climate action. Yes. And I really love that Insuliv is able to award and recognize libraries that are working towards these matter, because I think it's an incentive, right? Motivation for others, and also to share what libraries are doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now we are going to welcome our next and last speaker, Casey Conlin from the ALA Sustain Roundtable. Welcome, Casey.
All right. Thank you, Loida. And thanks everybody for having me. You should be able to see my screen now. So I wanted to talk today about sustainability and some of the things that we've seen going on in our libraries. And you can see that a lot of these things are going to match up with some of the SDG goals when you take out that chart and you start comparing them. I think Harry did really well, and he connected us to a lot of the core things that we do. And I know Sherry's stuff was really cool, and I'm looking forward to including that in some of the things that our libraries can do as we share stuff out. So I'm the coordinator, library sustainability coordinator at the Mid-Hudson Library System, and I am also the coordinator for the American Library Association Sustainability Roundtable. So in both those organizations, when we talk about sustainability, we think that this model that you see up here helps a lot. This is the triple bottom line of sustainability. So we have the environmentally sound part up at the top. So we want to make sure that the things that we're doing aren't causing more harm to the environment than necessary. For too long, every organization has been pulling stuff out of the earth and then putting it back up into the air as either waste, and then back into the ground as waste, and then back into the water as waste. And we can't keep doing this. It's not infinite that this can go on. It's just not sustainable. Some of the other elements of sustainability that you might not think about in libraries are the economic side. So we are entrusted in our organizations with funds, or we anticipate receiving funds, and we have to budget those funds in a way that allows us to continue to meet the needs of the people who need us. So you can't spend all your money on solar panels and not have any money for books if that's what your patrons need. Likewise, with economic feasibility, we have to make sure that the things that we're doing with our money and where we're spending our money make a positive impact. So we know that when we spend money in our local economies, that money stays in our local economy with our local businesses longer. When we spend money at a big corporation or with a big company or on the internet where we don't know where it's going, it often goes out of our community very quickly and it doesn't have the same kind of benefits. So the other leg of sustainability is social equitability. And so we want to make sure that the things that we're doing are equitable. The library has a huge leg up, especially the public libraries here in America, in that we are free, ostensibly, to anybody who wants to come in and use us. So it doesn't matter what you look like, what your skin color looks like, how much money you have, or who you love. When you come in, you're supposed to get the same level of service. But we do recognize at this point, in 2020 and 2021, and we have for a while, that libraries have been part of the systemic injustices that are visited upon people of color, low-income people, and people who might not identify as hetero-cisgendered. So we are working to fix that. But there are other inequities that we have to address too. Harry hit on it perfectly. Geography. Can people get to your library and access your services without a car? Maybe they can now a little bit better because we moved a lot of things to online, but you have to watch out because there's other broadband and connectivity inequities that pop up. Many people in my area can't necessarily get access to the infrastructure because it's just not there, and other people can't afford it. So we look at all of these elements when we're making decisions, and when they line up, we have a sustainable decision, and we can provide our community and assure that our organization is going to be sustainable and be able to move forward. One of the fun projects that we've been working on here at Mid-Hudson in partnership with Lifeboats HV is the Library of Local, and we got the website up here if you want to check it out. So the theme for this year for the Library of Local is Sow, Grow, Reap, Repeat, and we're helping people grow their own food and be individually resilient in that way. You'll see on the left side, this is a pod. They call them pod, and they have resources that you might expect from the library. We have books and DVDs and other cool online things that'll help you learn about growing your own food. But we also have shovels and something called a soil blocker. I got to go check one of those out. I don't know what it's for, but it sounds cool. And I don't know that I need one in my shed all the time. I can borrow it from the library and share it with my neighbors. So they also provide seeds so that you can actually start growing your own food in the backyard, which is pretty exciting. So that's all the stuff that you can get from the library. But more important, they provide these events that do two things. They provide information. So first, they're going to have experts who come in and tell you, this is how you grow food around here in the Hudson Valley where we are. And second, ideally, those will be local experts. So people who know how to do that, but are your neighbors, because that's where resiliency really comes in. When you can connect people, and because people are more versatile and more capable than any kind of shovel or even a soil blocker. I guarantee whatever it is, it's not as versatile and helpful as your neighbor or another person who knows how to help you through these things. That taps into human ingenuity, and that's really where resiliency comes in. The Library of Local project is one project that's really cool, but we knew at SustainRT that there were a ton of cool projects out there, and we wanted to pull them together. So Earth Day last year turned 50. It started in 1970, and that first year there was protests all over the country in America. People were upset about the pollution and the things that industry was doing to the environment and the people in the world, in the country. So people got together, they said no more, and they protest. And within the first year, we had the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, and we had a number of laws that protected workers and the environment. So for the 50th anniversary, now that it's gone globally and it's nationwide, we wanted to pull together examples of how you can do sustainability and protect the environment and support the people in your community with your library through activities in your library. As we discussed, it's not just recycling stuff and solar panels. There's a lot of things that you can do. One of the first things you can do is an energy audit. This is part of getting your own house in order. Before you go tell other people how to do stuff or provide them with information, do your work at home. Many utility companies and municipalities here in America will provide free energy audits, which help us understand, as Harry was saying, how much our facilities are contributing to, or how many natural resources they're using and what kind of carbon footprint our organization has. So getting that checked out and then looking at the return on investment, keeping in mind the economic aspects of how we can improve our organization's functioning in our building. So that's one thing that you can do. And when other organizations and people see you're doing that, they can go do that at their own organization as well. Likewise, promoting fair trade, things that you use in your library, if it's coffee or tea when you have people back in the building, or if you're going out into the community and providing refreshments at this point within COVID, trying to get resources that you need to do your library's work from organizations whose values line up with the library's. So this is something that the library can do, and it can turn other people onto it or other organizations, and you can tell people about it as well. So the Slow Stitch Club, that's a hard one to say. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but that one is near and dear to my heart. It's almost like a repair cafe, the textile part of the repair cafe, if anybody's been a part of those before. So the idea is many libraries in America already have a knitting club or a crochet club, and then taking some of those skills and those people who like working on textiles and maybe bending those towards fixing items for people in the community. And so we divert a bag or a piece of clothing that somebody loves from the waste stream, allow them to continue using it so they don't have to get a new one and it doesn't have to go in the trash. This also helps connect people who might not have these skills. Again, remember those connections are important to people who do, so they know where they can go for help if they need more help. The Project Prom is a really great idea too, and this battles social inequity in many ways, because a lot of times at prom, you get all dressed up. The people in high school, the people going to the prom, they get a new suit or they get a awesome dress, whatever they want to wear, or maybe some accessories. But those things can cost hundreds of dollars, which is cost prohibitive for many families. And they only get used once, right? Which is wasteful. So what the libraries have done, and Claudia and I did this at the Heverstraw King's Daughters Public Library with Patrice, who is our teen programmer, we pull in the dresses and the suits and the accessories that folks don't need, and we have them dry cleaned, and we make them available to people who might not be able to afford them, or who might not want to buy a new dress just for one night, or a new suit or accessory. So that is a big way that you can combat social inequity and also help people with economic things and divert things from the waste stream. So we talked a little bit about plants and gardening and working on the land in our own area. So inviting in those local plant experts, as we are with the Library of Local. Even better if you can have a focus on native plants, if you're not focused on growing food necessarily. Native plants are awesome if you don't know. They have been around in your local area for thousands of years, and they create much less havoc on the environment than invasive species do, and they support local animals and local pollinators and local insects, and they require much less upkeep from us, much less watering, much less elbow grease for weeding them, no chemicals or fertilizers needed. So it's an advantage if you can highlight these native plants and focus on those and bring those to your community and help them understand how they can use them in their own backyard. The local cookbook is an awesome idea too. So a lot of us are used to just going to the food store and seeing what they have there and buying that. And so we can always have strawberries here in New York, even though that's a weird thing. But there's a large carbon footprint with bringing those strawberries all the way from South America or wherever they're grown here to my grocery store in upstate New York. So these local cookbooks highlight locally available foods and seasonally appropriate recipes for people who might not otherwise know. So we have this educational component that actually helps people change some of their behavior. You can also use this as an opportunity to connect with local restaurateurs who maybe have a really great recipe, to get them some goodwill and maybe connect them with some new patrons, as well as connecting people with local farmers and local food producers, again, to help them understand what is available in their community and to help them make those positive behavioral changes that are going to contribute to a more sustainable world and a more healthy environment. Building on connections and convening people, sometimes the library is just there to help folks talk. So we have the Host a Climate Change Cafe, and shout out to Madeline, who's on here. I think she posted this one. I think she does these a lot. So at the Climate Change Cafe, you get folks together who want to talk about climate change issues, maybe globally, but likely locally, and things that they can do locally. And again, tapping into that human ingenuity and seeing if there's solutions that are available if we can get people together. The library can play that role of getting people together. The film series idea as well. It's a similar focus, getting people together to talk about what they can do about climate change or what's going on with climate change. But here the focus is on a particular film or set of films so that everybody has similar background information. The Our Planet Earth program is a partnership between Star Library Network, the American Library Association, and NASA. So that one's really cool. And this gets people to look at the science behind our environment and to engage in our environment through the scientific perspective. So it was really great in COVID to see libraries doing this because they were actually engaging in science and engaging with the environment and getting outside and getting to spend time together, which is something I'm always trying to do with my young children. So one of the things that you can do with this app is you can track mosquito larvae. You take pictures with a phone or a handheld device, and you go out there and you see what's going on with mosquitoes. If that's not your cup of tea, there is a program where you can take pictures of trees, and then you walk up to the trees, and it actually measures the height of the trees. And so NASA takes that information, and they couple it with the information that they get from their satellites, because they can only take pictures from above of the trees, and you're providing the below shot of the trees. And so they put that information together, and it helps them understand what's happening to our trees better. And you can help people connect to these programs and do these programs if you haven't done so already. I know we have a lot of great folks on the call here who are doing a lot of great work in this area. So these things have all gone out already, and I'm sorry I didn't say it before. I want to thank, I know we have Beth on here, and Beth designed a lot of these, as well as Shannon Plummer. They designed these lovely images, which were released by email to our SustainRT email list and pushed out to our social media. Mandy Goodset and Uta Husang Christian also helped with writing an article about this and curating some of these. So big shout out to everybody on SustainRT who's on the call, and especially these folks whose names are on the slide here. This work is amazing, and I think it has been super helpful. And I hope that it's really inspiring to you folks on the call here now. If you want more access to the 50 for 50, we've got links here. We got the full 50 for 50 list. We got a place for you to share your ideas. Let's go back to that human ingenuity, right? Did you see something and you know you can do better, or you already did it better? Pop something in there. Pop it into the form there on Share Your Ideas, and we'll be able to share that out with everybody. On SustainRT's webpage, we have a lot of resources that you can access. We have including a database of policies and other information and resources that are going to help you put sustainability into place in your organization. The SustainRT Facebook page, we share out all the information that you have seen already on there. If you prefer just to have sustainability in libraries wash over you as you scroll through things, that is a good place to go and a good place to subscribe and like. You can contact me if you have any questions. I can connect you to the right people, or I can provide you with the right information. A PDF of these slides is available at the link there. And then, of course, check out the quick program ideas for Earth Day 2021. I know it passed already, but at SustainRT, it's Earth Day year-round. And you're also welcome to get started on 2022, because I don't think we'll have climate change licked then. So just get a head start now and start thinking about things that you can do.
Thank you so much, Casey. There are just so many examples. Your presentation is chock full of great stuff for libraries at local level. I really love the pod that you presented at the beginning. It's like a toolkit, but the life size for libraries and to help the community, right? To kind of like the beginners into sustainability. It was great. So thank you so much. I would like now to ask our attendees that if they have any questions, please, this is the time. You can write it in the comment section. And I want to say that CPDWL and the new professionals are testing this pilot, this space around the world as a pilot for webinars. I think people are liking it. I see a lot of emoticons and people clapping and liking what is being said. And so I think we're going to maybe give it another try. And I would like to ask if the speakers can come back, can turn on their cameras, if they are still with us. And hopefully... I want to ask if Edward, if you have any questions. I don't see any questions, but I do have a question. Or if they're not, I don't see questions, but I've seen activity on Twitter. People have been saying that there's great information and they are very happy about this. Librarians are very, I will say, earth conscious, right? Sustainability conscious. So I have a question for all of you, and I mentioned this earlier, but I have received this question before at other events on sustainability. Some librarians are worried that they don't have the funds, or the library is really tiny to participate in sustainable activities and action, right? Climate action. And so since you are here and you lead two of our national and international groups on sustainability, and we are very fortunate to have a representative from the United Nations, perhaps can talk a little bit more, maybe build on something that you already talked about, how these librarians can make a difference, can impact, and can help communities and climate action, even though perhaps they don't have much funding or they have a small staff. And I'm going to start with Casey, because he spoke last, but he presented many examples. So I think he might have the answer ready.
All right. So I think it depends on your situation, of course. I think connections, again, between the people in your community, and also connections between the library and other relevant organizations like your town or village government or rec department. And so reaching out to those folks, seeing if they have a plan or if they see opportunities, especially there's a lot of grants coming out right now from the federal government in the United States and also state governments to try to address climate change. And the last thing I'll say is that sometimes a small organization is a benefit because when you talk to the three other people that you work with, everybody is on the same board now. But if you work with 70 or 80 people, it's a lot harder to have everybody understand it and everybody get bought into the idea. So I would embrace that small library. You're very agile as a small library.
That's a very nice point. You did mention partnerships. Partnerships, if you're in a large organization or a small organization, are key to present and bring programs to the library. I will continue with Harry.
All right. Yes, that is a question which is quite often asked, and I think it's a question about the focus. If we think about the building, or if we think about how we get the books, actually it's the publisher who chooses the paper, and we can not have an impact where the books comes from. They just come. But we should think more about the action we are doing in libraries. So I'm quite excited. We are going to have a new project in Finland. It's a national project again, starting next autumn. It is called the Youth and Climate Emotions. And what we are going to do, we are going to ask the youth to come to the libraries to tell the decision makers what they think, to make their own events, to learn to deal with their emotions, which are concerned with environment and climate. And this is a kind of action what we can do. We can make the decision that we want to have an event like this in our libraries. While it may be difficult to say that, yes, we won't cool down the building anymore or anything like that. But there are things we can do.
Yes.
We should do those things.
Yes.
Thanks.
And it's wonderful that you mentioned to engage the elected officials in library matters. That's very, very important too. Yeah. We need that support. And then Sherry from the United Nations.
Thank you, Loida, and thank you to Harry and Casey. What great presentations with lots of wonderful ideas there. And I reiterate the fact that there really is a natural synergy between the SDGs and libraries, and you have proven it once again. Those are some really, really inspiring things that are going on in the local communities. So in terms of library budgets and resources, we all know that that's problematic, But I do think that, Casey's ideas of doing things really locally within local communities are very important. There are things that we can do with volunteers and partners, and that there are a lot of free things that we can do. Some of the things that I mentioned, I think all the things I mentioned are all free. So I think that that's very important as well. And working together, working collaboratively, sharing these ideas. And the idea of simplicity, the simple things that we can do in our own personal lives, we can also do at work and in our library communities. So things like turning off the lights or turning down the thermostat a little bit, those things matter. They're simple and they're resource very light.
Absolutely. Go to the UN page and check out the book clubs. Everybody loves them, and you can work them out with children and adults of all ages. So, well, thank you so much for your time today. I know you are in different time zones. Some of us are in the morning, some of us are in the early evening. So thank you so much. This webinar will be available. The recording will be available very soon. And we're going to share the link to the recording on all the social media channels and the IFLA list as you saw them when you were registering for the event. So thank you so much, speakers, and thank you so much to the teams behind the webinar, because climate action is very important for all of us in our planet and for libraries as well. So thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
If we have a moment here, I would like to sort of invite everyone to take a selfie of themselves, and then the platform actually puts all our pictures together for sort of a group photo. So I'm going to start that right now. And then you should be able to see on your screen to take a selfie, and then it will put everything together. Sorry, we're just kind of waiting for the rest of the people to finish taking their selfie. We have 16 people right now, but for those who are free to join us, I'm going to start a sort of cocktail party after event, and then you'll be randomly matched up one-to-one with somebody else to talk to for about 2 minutes. We'll go through about 2 rounds of this. So if you can, feel free to stay. If you have something else, thank you for attending.